What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Miss Marvel, Season 1, Episode 1, Generation Why? And that's the question I was asking myself through a lot of this. Why? Why did they make some of the decisions they do in writing this episode? Because, yeah, this is definitely a show written for a younger, teenager demographic. Because I'm watching it, and I don't know, maybe the point is Kamala is not supposed to be the most likable character right now. Because the way that the music and the feel of the show it seems to be that we're supposed to feel bad for Kamala. Like, oh, can you believe her mom, the way she's being to her? Like, she's so controlling. Just let her live her life. I mean, gosh, mom. Here's the thing. First of all, I do know that this is just because I have some friends who they grew up in India, they moved over here. Typically, that's kind of how the Middle Eastern families tend to be. They are a lot more, I guess, not controlling, but they tend to be very much protective of their kids. They don't want them to experience too much at a young age because they don't want them to go out there and get themselves hurt doing something stupid. So this is very, I think, I could be wrong here, but this seems very on brand for a lot of Middle Eastern families. So it feels like this should be kind of normal, and yet from Kamala's point of view, this seems like, oh, she's just so bad. She's just so above and beyond. Like, oh my gosh, she's awful. She's the devil. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, yes, there are some things like saying that she's going to be wearing some super tight costume when honestly it's not really even that tight. And on top of that, like, yes, going to a con is not like some party like she seems it is, or she seems to think it is, but it does sort of go along with she doesn't really know what a con would be. And so in her mind, she just hears she wants to go out somewhere late at night and just stay out super late, and who knows where she is, who she's hanging around. I mean, from a parent's perspective, that might be something where you're like, you know what? Let's have your dad go just so he can sort of be there, be protective, that sort of thing. And honestly, that's something that she probably could have, I guess, agreed to whittle down a little bit. Like, obviously, the costume thing was always going to be something that was going to be tough to get past her mom because that seemed to be just something that she was stuck on. Like, no, you're not wearing that revealing outfit, even though it's, again, not that revealing. But from my point of view, I'm looking at this and going, her little outburst at her dad saying that it's humiliating what he's wearing and that the fact that he's going to be there for her, even though he went to all this trouble of getting into this Hulk cosplay and putting the green makeup on. I mean, that's showing he wants to be there for her. And she just calls it humiliating right to his face. In my opinion, she's the bad guy. She is overreacting in a sense of, you have your chance to go. Like, yes, it sucks that you won't be able to be there with just your friend. Like, your dad's going to be there. He's probably going to be maybe hovering a bit, but it's your chance to go. And yes, you want to go as Captain Marvel. That's something maybe you can talk to your mom about because, I mean, like Bruno was saying, she needs to put a little bit of herself into it. So maybe talk to your mom and say, hey, I want to be Captain Marvel. Can we focus on trying to turn this costume into something that reflects our family? I feel like that would have been the right step, but instead she goes the complete opposite way, the complete bad way about it, in that she plans to sneak out. She doesn't talk to her parents about it. She has Bruno help her in this ridiculous plan. She steals this thing that her mom was like, no, this is just junk or whatever. And then she gets into trouble. She nearly hurts some people in the process because she put this bangle on. And then she gets home and her mom yells at her. And what does she get out of it? Are you going to be the good Kamala Khan that I know you to be? Or are you going to be this fantasizing about being this cosmic? And then at the end she's like, cosmic. Because she didn't learn anything. And all the stuff that she did and sneaking out and hurting her dad and upsetting her mom, her brother is now in the hot seat too because he went out of his way to try to convince their parents to, give her a chance. So all of these people that she hurt in the process, the people she nearly killed at AvengerCon because of this recklessness and this power, and what does she get at the end of it? I have powers now. I'm so cool. You're not a good person. This does not make me want to root for you, and she's the main character of the series. And again, I feel like this is probably, from my point of view, because I'm not a teenager. Maybe teenagers are watching this and going, "Oh yeah, fight the power, fight your parents because they're being controlling and they're just trying to hold you down. They're trying to keep you from who you're supposed to be." It's not really that great of a message. I guess controlling parents are bad. However, sometimes they're trying to show you that what you're doing is actually more harmful than it is good. Because they've been there, they've done that, they've been a teenager before. You're just now getting into that point of being close to an adult. Maybe you should take some hints from the people who are adults. That's one of the arguments, and that's one of the things that I see a lot. I'll see posts about, like, disrespecting the older generations. And yeah, some of their older stuff, obviously in the current day, it's seen as a little bit more offensive in some ways because it was a different time. Things were seen a bit differently. The what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say class system, but basically things were different back then. So the world they were living in then, it's different than the world we're living in now. And that argument I can see, yeah, you don't understand some of the stuff that we're dealing with currently. However, there's a lot of stuff that they did and that they've been through that we should probably take some hints and go, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't do this because they probably did something similar in the past. And they probably got hurt in the process. So, yeah, I was already not really looking forward to the series because, one, I'm not a big fan of basically high school drama type stuff. Now, granted, I put up with it for the Spider-Man movies. Thankfully, it was less and less as each movie went on. But it was okay. It was done in a way that was almost kind of parodying a little bit. This is much more like we are literally just following her life through high school and not particularly done well. You've got your cringy teacher acting and you got your cringy moments in school where she's kind of going around like, "Hey, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, I'm so awkward, guys." And it just feels more like awkward acting than it actually is she's an awkward person. On top of that, can I just say the basketball scene? Because I know what they're trying to show. They're trying to show, oh, well, this girl, I forget her name already, the bitchy girl that's kind of popular and stuff, and I guess used to be friends with Kamala. Like, they're trying to show she's just mean now, and she treats Kamala like trash, even though they used to be friends. Like, that's a high school trope that's been done to death, so I'm glad that they are continuing to show it here, because we haven't seen it enough. But, God, I mean, could you have her at least look like she's trying to play basketball? Because what I was seeing was a girl doing jumping jacks in the middle of the gym while everybody else around her is playing basketball. Like, nobody plays basketball like this. Nobody does. Ever. In the history of anything has played basketball that way. Even as a joke, nobody's done that. Who directed that scene? It was so short, you didn't have to put that much effort into it, and you still screwed it up. Oh. But anyways, the high school stuff I'm not a big fan of. The fangirl, fanboy storylines, I'm also not that big of a fan of. Kate Bishop was passable, but really only because Jeremy Renner made it funny with his reactions in Hawkeye. But now we've got another fangirl, so shortly after the first one, because one wasn't enough. And listening to her talk about Captain Marvel, especially because of the Captain Marvel we have in the MCU, also really hurts. Because, You're talking about one of the worst characters in Marvel at the moment as if she's so awesome, guys. She did everything on her own. The Avengers, they did nothing. It was all Captain Marvel. And she's so cool and she's so badass. And yeah, she punched Thanos right in the face. Of course, he took the Power Stone and punched the crap out of her right after that. So you left that part of the story out. But, whatever it takes to make Captain Marvel look good. And she was off doing who knows what, but yeah, she probably had a good reason. If you had to pick her to be a fangirl for any Marvel character, did it have to be the worst one? Did it have to be the worst one in any Marvel movie? Did it? It did not. So, yeah, obviously, this is not one that I was looking forward to. So I already went in with low expectations, and yeah, they kind of met those expectations. There were some good moments. The editing is pretty clever at times, with how they're doing the text messaging and stuff like that. It's pretty clever. I like it for the most part. Bruno, it is weird that I don't know. We have so many Bruno characters recently in like the Disney pantheon of Disney, Pixar, and now Marvel. I wonder if there's a Bruno in a Star Wars thing recently that I haven't seen. Wouldn't be surprised if there is. I don't know why Bruno's such a popular name, but I tend to see a lot of them. Maybe they're just Man U fans. Why would you be a fan of Bruno Fernandez though? But yeah, I mean he's perfectly fine. He has some good one-liners here and there. There were a couple that felt like poorly written lines though. Like I felt like the line where she drops her bike and she's like, "That will be there when I get back." In Jersey City? Like that was funny. And then he follows it up with, "I'd say there's like a 0.0001% chance." That made it a little less funny. So there are moments where it doesn't quite work for him, but for the most part, I thought a lot of his lines carried through, and their friendship, for the most part, is well done. As far as Kamala is concerned in her acting, aside from the basketball thing, it's okay. It's not bad. It's definitely got its moments where you feel like she knows what she's doing, she's acting competently, but then there are definitely some where it seems like your stereotypical, "Ooh, I'm so cool and spunky and awkward all at the same time." And I've seen it done to death, and most of the time those characters annoy me. So when that's your main character, and like I said, she's already not a great person based on what she did in this episode and her reaction to the end of it all, not really sure how I'm going to feel about the series. It's definitely one of the ones that I was looking forward to the least. And part of that is because I played the Avengers game, and so I did get to know Kamala Khan as a character through that game, and she wasn't well written in that one either. I will say, obviously I heard a lot of stuff, a lot of articles talking about fans who are upset that they changed it from her being an Inhuman to now she's just got the powers through the bracelet somehow, and it's no longer stretching. It's like the bracelet essentially can extend in a way. I don't really understand that change. I don't understand why. I guess because Mr. Fantastic looks like he might be coming into the MCU, or at least he was in Multiverse of Madness. So maybe they're like, "Oh, we've already got one stretchy guy. We don't need two." But I don't know. I mean, we've got Hulk, and we're about to have She-Hulk. We have Hawkeye, and now we had Kate Bishop. We do have a lot of characters that tend to be very similar in their powers. We had Steve, and we also had Bucky. So it's not the first time that they've copied powers from somebody else. So I don't understand why we couldn't do the same thing here. Like, did she just have to be that unique where it's like, no, she needs to do her own thing? If that's the case, then it's kind of a stupid decision, because like you already had a character with powers, and you could even start introducing the Inhumans. You already had Black Bolt show up in Multiverse of Madness, so you could start talking about Inhuman stuff. But no, let's just change it up because we don't want it to be too similar, guys. Okay. But yeah, so all in all, not a great first episode to change my mind on what's to come, but we'll see what happens next. On to the next one. I'll see you there. Episode 2, Crushed. This might be the hardest Marvel project for me to get through. And that's including Iron Fist, which so far, I mean, granted, it's looking like if this keeps up, this could be best Iron Fist as far as the worst Marvel property ever. God, this is awful. It's just awful. Like, again, I know I'm not the target audience for this because 1, I'm not in high school, 2, I'm not Muslim, and 3, I don't know, I'm not a woman. I mean, they're really targeting one specific sect of people with this show. It's that exclusive as far as its message, what it's focusing on, the problems that our main character is going through. Like, I get the idea of, well, you want to show all these other people that maybe don't deal with the problems that Kamala has. You want to show them what they're going through. But that's fine if it's a part of the story. When it's your whole story, that's not what I come to watch a Marvel product for. And maybe that makes me narrow-minded or whatever, but when I come to watch a Marvel product, I come to watch a superhero show. I have the same issue with Supergirl, with Batwoman, with, at times Arrow. I mean, there were so many moments where it felt like it was more focused on, well, we're going to tell about the lives of these characters rather than we're going to tell about them fighting the bad guys. And so far, that's what this has been. It's not been, hey, here's your superhero, let's introduce you to them, let's show you how they get their powers, and then let's put them up against some bad guy. It's been, hey, here's our superhero, let's show you what personal life drama she's going to be dealing with this season. Hope you enjoy that, because that's all we've got. Now, granted, there does seem to be some sort of story finally showing up at the end of this episode with the DODC, Department of Disaster Control, maybe? I don't know if we've heard of the DODC before. Those drones looked very familiar, though. I think they kind of looked like the Iron Man drones that Mysterio took from Spider-Man and Far From Home. So maybe that's where they got it, because I know they took a lot of that in No Way Home. They took it because of what Mysterio said and all of that stuff. So maybe they repurposed those drones and that tech for themselves. But they show up, and then, of course, Kamran shows up, and his mom's like, I've been waiting so long to meet you. So I guess she's probably going to be the bad guy for this season, and the DODC are just going to be side antagonists that maybe will eventually work alongside Kamala when they realize she's not a bad person. I don't know. Honestly, it's hard to care, because so much about this episode just was bad. Kamala, still the worst. Still not writing her as a compelling or interesting character, or really a sympathetic character either. Again, after everything that happened at the end of last episode, how do we start this one? She's walking through the school. She's all like, yeah, I'm flipping my hair. Yeah, I'm gonna act like I'm cool, even though everything I'm doing is just so cringy and awkward. Oh yeah, look, AirPods, they work even when you're not next to each other. By the way, though, because you're the gay couple, you're my favorite couple, because I want to be progressive and make sure we let everybody know that we're for that. Like, you don't have to deal with all of this. Just give us a good story, an interesting story. If you have that on the side of an interesting story, cool. But when you do that and you take some extra time, a good extra, I don't know, minute or so in a pretty short episode. Granted, it's actually getting shorter with every episode now that I look at it. But you spend all this extra time on stuff that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. These little fluff dialogue, fluff conversations, it starts to add up and it starts to get annoying because you're also not giving me anything interesting on the inside of it. So it's hard for me to really get invested in your show when you're spending time on all of these stories that I don't care about and that are stupidly written and annoying to watch and everybody's being just terrible. So, compose myself. Let's focus. First of all, the love triangle. Why? Again, I know Kamran looks like he's going to be involved with possibly the bad guy. Doesn't matter. You could have his mom show up as just another unrelated character. She just shows up because she saw the video. She's like, oh yes, she has the bracelet that I need, assuming she's going to be the bad guy. It's kind of what I figure is going to happen. But you could have just had her show up. You didn't have to have this, I don't know, super attractive guy show up, which, I mean, okay, why? And he instantly shows interest in Kamala, and he pushes Bruno to the side constantly. Bruno's trying to, butt his head in, oh, hey, I'm here too. And then he gets everybody's name right except for Bruno's, just to really throw it in there, ooh, guys, ooh, he just disrespected him. He didn't remember his name. Ooh, the fire is there. Can you just tell this love triangle is going to be so fiery? And ooh, what's going to happen? Why? I already hate high school drama, and then you throw in a love triangle to make it just the worst. The worst. Oh, man. So as soon as that happened, as soon as he showed up at the beginning of the episode and she bumped into him, my first thought was, please don't do this. And then she sees him again. He's getting invited to Zoe's party, and she's like, we need to go. I'm like, they're doing this. I'm going to hate this story. And by the end of it, even with him being involved, I still hate the story. So outside of that, also the thing going on with, I think her name is Nakia, I think. I'm slowly learning everybody's names. Slowly. But her whole story about running for, like, the mosque election. Okay. What does this have to do with anything? I mean, it's bizarre, and I don't really want to step on anybody's toes as far as religion is concerned, but here's the thing: this story seems to be all about women empowerment, right? You're wearing the headpiece because that's part of your religion, is that women are not as high up as men, so they're not allowed to show their hair because you're supposed to remain more humble, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So how can you tell the story about women empowerment when literally what you're wearing, your headpiece that you're wearing, is about knocking women down in the totem pole? Like, again, I don't want to step on other religions' toes, but that's what that's there for. Unless I misunderstand, like from what I've heard about I think it's hijab, it's supposed to be there because only their men are supposed to see their hair out in public. That means you're not as important. That some people will say, "Oh, no, that means they're that important that only their own men." You're supposed to be able to be free. So that's part of the religion, right? So why are we telling this story about women empowerment then? And it feels side story. It feels pointless. I don't know. There's probably going to be a point where Nakia, or hope that's her name, she needs Kamala's help for something, and Kamala's going to be like, oh, I got to go save the day, but I got to go help my best friend, but I got to save the day, but I got to help my best friend. They're going to do that stupid storyline, and then she's going to go try to save the day, and she's not going to show up in time to help her friend, and then they're going to fight, and they're going to be all pissed off at each other. It's probably going to be a moment where Bruno needs her to do something for her, and she's going to blow him off too. Yeah. In fact, if I had to predict what's going to happen, just because I've seen enough kids' superhero stories to know, I'm willing to bet that Kamran and his mother are going to appear to be like, oh, we're going to help you train with your bracelet. She's going to constantly blow off her friends to go train with them. And then we're going to find out, oh, they're actually using her to get something that they want, and they're the bad guys. And then at the end, she's going to be like, sorry, guys, I was selfish. I only wanted it for myself, but I need your help now to stop these two. I've not heard or seen anything about this show, I swear. So if that's what happens, it's the most predictable BS story in Marvel history. Because it's just every Saturday morning cartoon, like Disney XD. It really should have been a Disney XD show. I don't know if Disney XD still exists. I'm pretty sure it does. It should not be a Marvel show. It should be something on the Kids Network, because this is clearly written for kids. Yes, it's going to tie in with the overall Marvel universe, but this is clearly not written for everybody to be able to enjoy it. Because I can tell there are a lot of scenes in this that some people would find very empowering and like, oh yeah, that's super awesome. But for me, who's just here to watch a superhero show, I'm getting nothing out of this. And these stories are just boring me. And again, I'm sorry if that offends you. Just my own personal opinion. That's not what I came here to watch. There's a time and a place to talk about all this stuff. I completely understand. This is not the time and the place. This should be a show introducing us to who Kamala Khan is, and then getting us started in our adventure, not setting up all these other side stories that are going to take up so much time throughout the season, distracting from the main plot of who's the bad guy, who she got to fight, have her figuring out her powers. It's just where I am. So, first 2 episodes, not getting me excited. Also, I do want to say, CGI's got to improve, because that opening scene where she's learning her powers and they show the one moment where she's like I guess, kind of figured her powers out, and they show her doing some like little parkour and then doing the thing. That was bad. That was... You couldn't find somebody to just dress up. I mean, you were already shooting from a distance, so you couldn't find somebody to dress up like her, look similar, and do that little parkour course and then CGI the light beams. No, you had to CGI her doing all of that parkour stuff. And not convincingly. Good job. Also, at the end, I totally forgot this part. At the end, her saving the boy. First of all, why is he up there? He even asked that question. I'm like, okay, writers, just for future reference, don't have your character point out why your stupid character did something. Don't have your character go and do something completely idiotic and then ask, why did I do this? Because the answer is, well, the writers wrote you to do that. That's the only reason. So it makes the writers look stupid. So don't do that, future writers that happen to be watching this. Please don't write your character to ask why you made them do something. Just a forewarning. But anyways, so she gets up there. She helps him, kind of, not convincingly. Finally manages to keep him from falling. Jumps off, and then decides to take a moment to have a fantasy about what's going to happen. Oh, all these people are going to put it on social media. They're going to get all these likes. I'm going to be famous. And that causes her to take too long. And then she has a vision or whatever. And then all of a sudden that causes her powers to fail. Why am I rooting for her? Why am I supposed to be rooting for her? Because she's so self-absorbed. Did you write her purposefully like this? If so, God, I hope it starts to change soon. I really hope by the beginning of next episode, she has a moment where she's like, crap, I really need to look at myself and make some changes, because right now, I'm not okay. I'm not a good person. I'm selfish. I'm all about the fame and the fortune. That's not a good reason to be a superhero. Just gonna say it. So, alright. Anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens next. Not looking forward to it. I just remembered also, I'm just going to talk about this because I just happened to remember it. Bruno is apparently going into Caltech, or he has the option to go into Caltech. I'm mentioning it. I don't have an opinion on it really, but the fact that I nearly forgot about it shows just how pointless that story is right now. So, don't know what that's about. I know Bruno's going through a lot, with her getting her powers, and now he possibly is going to California. I get that he's seeing a lot of change, and then on top of that, this other boy steps into her life, even though he clearly likes her, but didn't make a move, even though she was there to be had. Yeah, I don't know. It feels kind of, again, another side story to add on. You've got 6 episodes, and you're telling all these stories to try to fill the runtime. This should have been a movie. This should have been a 2.5-hour movie. You could have cut down all this fat that's unnecessary and more just there to make a point and make a stance rather than actually give us a compelling character. Why is this becoming a thing for Marvel? The movies that had had too much to it and needed more time to flesh out characters like Eternals, they're getting just the movies. And then these shows that really could have been trimmed down upon and have a lot of extra fluff and unnecessary stuff, they're the ones getting the shows. It's just stupid. Okay, that's it for these 2 episodes. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Again, if I offended anyone, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I'm going to offend somebody, I'm sure. But it's kind of the world we live in. Somebody's going to get offended no matter what you say. So I've just kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, hey, if I offend you, it wasn't my intention. But just calling it like I see it. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Miss Marvel reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.